Good morning and welcome to part 5 of our Successful Minds webinar series. Thanks to everybody for joining this morning, and special thanks to everybody who's been along the journey with us, who've been to every single webinar so far. Now, if you've missed any webinars, that's fine. You can find a recording of the live webinar on our YouTube channel. And all you have to do is drop us an email and I'll send you all the links to everything that you might have missed so far. So this is our final webinar of this series. And this webinar is all about taking action. So one of the most important elements of a successful mind is that motivation and desire to take action to get what you want. It's very important. So before we drive forward with today's webinar, let's just have a little look in the rearview mirror at where we've been. So in the very first webinar of this series, 5 weeks ago, we talked about the fundamental elements of a successful mind. Let's just remind ourselves of what we've talked about so far. The first fundamental of a successful mind is knowing what you want. If you have direction, you know in which orientation you're traveling. If you set off in your car in the morning and have no idea of your desired destination, you could just drive around aimlessly all day. And maybe you might see a few interesting things on the journey. However, you never get there in the end. You just won't find your final destination because you don't know where it is. And that's what your unconscious mind, the goal getter, feels like if you haven't got a goal. It feels like it's kind of meandering through life, going in all different directions, attempting to find what it is that you want, and never really getting there. So it's really important that you know what you want and write it down in a goal. And we've already covered that during the webinar series, how to write a goal so it's really well formed and so that it's ultimately compelling to the unconscious mind. Remember, the conscious mind is the goal setter, the unconscious mind is the goal getter. So it's important that we know what we want. Then we need to focus on what you want and be responsible for it. Remember, if we have toward thinking, it means we're focusing on what we want to achieve, what we want to happen in our lives. Energy flows where attention goes. So if we focus on what we want, we're more likely to get it. If you're focusing on what you don't want to happen, that's where your energy and your motivation is going. And you'll probably create at the unconscious level exactly what it is that you hope to avoid in the first place. So focusing on what you want stubbornly, and I know we can all be stubborn, is essential to getting what we want. And then being responsible for achieving what we want. Remember earlier in the webinar series, we talked about cause and effect. When we're at effect, we have reasons and excuses why we didn't get our lives the way we wanted it. And then when we move over to cause, we take responsibility and we get results. We take back our personal power. And once we have our personal power, we take control of our lives and therefore take control of our outcomes and our results. And we have responsibility for them. So focus on what you want and be ultimately responsible for it. Last week, we talked about limiting beliefs. We talked about how your beliefs are not true. They're simply constructs around which you organize your behavior. If your beliefs limit you, your unconscious mind will produce the behavior that fulfills those limiting beliefs. So, for example, if you believe that you're not good enough to have what you want and get what you want and be who you want, then your unconscious mind will produce the behavior to fulfill not having all of those things. And empowering beliefs do the polar opposite. So if you have empowering beliefs that you are good enough and you do deserve everything that you want, and you can get there and you will get there, then your unconscious mind will produce that behavior. So in a successful mind, it's really crucial that we check for limiting beliefs. So think about all the things that you want in your life that you haven't got yet, and think, what is it that you believe about yourself that's prevented you from having your life the way you want it, being the person that you want to be so far? And this is not about beating yourself up about holding limiting beliefs about yourself. Your limiting beliefs are held unconsciously. It's not something you've done to yourself on purpose. Of course not. You didn't know, and now you do. So think about what limiting beliefs you hold about yourself. And once you've identified all of those limiting beliefs, then that's great news, because once you've identified them, then you can go ahead and remove them. And remember, last week I shared with you a very quick and easy submodalities technique for getting rid of limiting beliefs. We can also get rid of limiting beliefs and the decisions that led to those beliefs with timeline therapy techniques, and more about that in a little while. So we check for limiting beliefs. We must also be ready to be challenged. Life happens, of course it does. And on your way to your goal, you'll be challenged. Barriers and blockages, either real or perceived, might end up in your way, blocking your road. How are you going to get to your destination now? So it's really important that you have more than one path to get to your goal. So some flexibility in your plan that's going to get you to your goal. So that if blockages and barriers get put in your way by life, then you have mechanisms to get over them, under them, smash through them, or go around them. There's always a way for you to get around those blockages so that you can still achieve your goal. So it's important that you meet with challenges. And then crucial is to take action. Just sitting in a room and putting out good thoughts into the universe isn't going to realize your goals. You need to take action. You need to do something about it. It's very important. And so if you take action, you're already telling your unconscious mind, this is the path I want to travel. You're starting to form habitual behaviors that move towards your goals. And then your unconscious mind will take hold of those habitual behaviors and reproduce them. And so taking action every day towards your goal, even if it's only a tiny little thing, is going to help you get there at a much more accelerated rate than if you did nothing. So let's think about your successful mind for a moment. Now, because challenges will get put in your way, because life is life, and let's be real about it, things happen. And the things out there that happen, you might not have any control over them. You might not be able to change them. However, you can change the way that you think about them and change the way you respond to them. That's what's going to help your unconscious mind be a successful mind and to build in some nice resilience. So a successful mind is a resilient mind. Now, once again, we're just going to have a little look back over where we've been already. So a resilient mind. A resilient mind is about being in control of our internal representations. So remember, your internal representations are the pictures, sounds, feelings, and self-talk, the stories that you tell yourself, how those come together in your mind to represent your external world internally. It creates your model of the world. And we know from the communication model of NLP that I shared last week and the week before that your internal representations are unique to you, and they're a result of a robust filtering process. And your internal representations, in turn, create your internal state. And you remember that by state we mean your emotional condition. And your emotional condition affects your physiology, how your body feels. And those three things, your internal representation, your emotional state, and your physiology, go into a feedback loop. So each is bolstering the other and fueling how you feel and what your internal representation looks, sounds, and feels like. So if we can control our internal representations through the process of some modalities that we talked about last time, then we can make sure that we consistently stay in an up state. And by that, I mean a useful emotional condition, whatever it is for you, whether it's energized, motivated, happy, joyful, full of desire, whatever it is for you. So staying in an up state will help you create your successful mind and achieve your goals. A resilient mind is free of limiting beliefs, and we've already spoken about those today. A mind free of limiting beliefs is a mind full of empowering beliefs. And if you have empowering beliefs, then your personal power and motivation and energy levels are going to be really, really strong and really push you forward to getting to your goals quickly. A successful mind is also free of internal conflict. Now, that's interesting. When you have an internal conflict, it's a bit like arguing with yourself. Imagine this for a moment. Imagine that you live with somebody 24/7, 365. And every moment of those 365 days of the year, you're arguing with that person. Now imagine how much of your energy that would take to maintain an argument every moment of every day. Just imagine that. It would sap a whole load of your energy. Now, if you have an internal conflict, that's exactly what you're doing inside. So an internal conflict really, really uses up so much of your energy that you could be using in order to have a successful mind and to achieve your goals. So a successful, resilient mind is free of internal conflicts. And you'll know you've got an internal conflict because you'll hear it in your language. And you'll hear it in the language of other people. And I'm sure that you have. People will say things like, well, on the one hand, I think I'm absolutely good enough to achieve what I want to achieve. But on the other hand, no, I don't think I'm quite good enough. You'll hear them say these things. Part of me thinks that I can achieve what I want to achieve. But there's another part that really doesn't believe that. You'll hear the conflict in people's language and in your own language. In NLP, we have a wonderful technique called parts integration. And what parts integration is designed to do is to integrate conflicted parts. And once we've integrated conflicted parts, they become part of a whole again and can work together in synergy and harmony to enable you to really fuel your successful mind and to achieve your goals. Parts integration is something that I teach during our NLP coach practitioner training. It's an excellent, excellent technique, and I'd love to show it to you. So why don't you come along in March and join us and learn all of these techniques. A successful, resilient mind also needs to be free of negative emotions from the past. Now let's think about that for a moment. It's what most people call baggage. Those things that you've been carrying with you for years and years and years. The negative experiences that you've had in your past, and they're still sort of rattling around inside. Those negative emotions that have come from events in the past. And if they're trapped inside your neurology, then they're creating blockages to your energy. They're creating blockages to your successful mind. And so prevent you from moving forward at the really accelerated rate that you could do if your mind was free from the negative emotions. A successful, resilient mind thinks toward goals. So thinking about what you do want and focusing on what you want. And being motivated to take action and take responsibility for your outcomes. And we know if you do that, then you're going to be quickly moving towards what you want. So let's think about that concept of cleaning up our past. Getting rid of the baggage. Yeah. Negative emotions carried within your neurology can be released. Now, this might be a new concept for some of you, because I'm sure you've heard of negative emotions being managed. There are plenty of trainings out there for anger management, stress management. But just think about that language for a moment. When you manage something, it's implicitly implying that you're going to carry on doing it just in a managed way. Now, in NLP terms, that's not good enough for us. Why manage something that you can remove entirely? Because a negative emotion from the past has already done its job. It's no longer of value to you. It had its uses in the moment, in the past, in the actual event. And of course, it has helped shape your personality, the way and building who you are now. And now it's done its job. Holding it within your neurology is damaging to your health, and it's damaging to your psychology. So the ultimately best thing to do from a holistic health and well-being point of view is to release the negative emotions. Just let them go completely. They've done their job. They're no longer of value to you. And we do that using timeline therapy techniques. Now, timeline therapy techniques are a big portion of the NLP coach practitioner training. And in this 8-day training, by the time you leave, you will be a certified practitioner of timeline therapy techniques, as well as NLP, NLP coaching, and hypnosis. So if you're excited about being able to remove negative emotions, then this really is the training for you. When we release negative emotions, we focus on what we call the big 5. Anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. And if you consider it carefully, you'll realize that other emotions that have a negative connotation are usually subsets of one of these. So, for example, frustration is a subset of anger, anxiety a subset of fear, and so on. With timeline therapy techniques, we can also let go of limiting decisions and limiting beliefs. So a slightly different way of getting rid of limiting beliefs, other than the submodalities technique that we learned last time. And timeline therapy techniques also allow us to create ourselves a compelling future by putting our future goal into our timeline. And we're going to have a go at that today. I promised we would. So I hope you've got your goal nicely written out and ready to put into your future timeline. So timeline therapy works with the unconscious mind. And you've heard me refer to the unconscious mind several times already. And there's nothing magical or woo-woo about the concept of the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is simply the part of your mind that you're not consciously aware of right now. It's the part of your mind that's running your body. So, for example, you're not thinking about breathing right now as you're looking and listening to the webinar. You're not thinking about digesting your cup of tea or your breakfast. You're not thinking about your kidney and liver function. If we had to consciously think about those things, that would be all we'd be able to do. We'd just have to sit in a chair and run our bodies. We wouldn't be able to do anything else. But luckily, we have the unconscious mind to run our bodies and preserve our bodies. And your unconscious mind is where all of your memories are stored. And they're all stored very neatly, chronologically, and according to the emotional content of the memory. So your unconscious mind is a very busy mind. It's a very quick acting mind. And it's running your body and organising all your memories. So this is where your imagination comes in. And what timeline therapy techniques doing is breaking down that barrier, the pink line on the ball there, that separates the conscious from the unconscious mind. And we call it the critical faculty. And you'll notice there on the globe of the mind that the unconscious portion is bigger than the conscious portion. And that's intentional, because the unconscious mind is a much bigger mind. It has so much more to do, and it has so much control over everything we do than the conscious mind. So consider that for a moment. When we use timeline therapy techniques, what we're looking to do is remove that critical faculty to integrate conscious and unconscious thinking, so we can really activate our active imagination and make the changes that we want to make. So timeline therapy is a process of active imagination. When you get involved in the technique and you begin to be guided through it by a practitioner coach of timeline therapy, or which you would be after the NLP coach practitioner certification training, you actively imagine what's being suggested to you by your coach. And what you imagine is always correct, which is great. It means there's no wrong answers. Whatever you imagine is always correct. And it's simply about following simple instructions and using your active imagination. Easy, yeah? Timeline therapy works with the unconscious mind. So the intention of timeline therapy techniques is to work consciously with the unconscious mind, causing that critical faculty to dissolve and cause conscious and unconscious integration, so that you can consciously make changes to your thinking at the unconscious level. And therefore, we can begin to eliminate those negative emotions from the past. So the critical faculty, the part that separates your unconscious and your conscious thinking, is simply the part of you that cares to distinguish between reality and fantasy. So, for example, when you watch a film, maybe a sci-fi film, you choose to suspend your disbelief just for a while. Think about that. If you were to watch a sci-fi film that clearly requires imagination, and you look at it logically and analytically and sit and say, well, that could never happen, and that's very far-fetched, and I can't believe that, you simply wouldn't enjoy the film. Fantasy and sci-fi films about activating your imagination and being taken into a world that doesn't exist yet and enjoying that process. It's about suspending disbelief just for a while. And that's what we do when we work with timeline therapy techniques. So let's think about how we create your success. This is about putting a goal into your future. And this is the final thing that we're going to do in this webinar series. So get out your goal, and I'm going to talk you through it. These are the various steps that we're going to go through. We're going to be sure that your goal is well formed. And then we're going to think of your evidence procedure. What's the very last thing that has to happen in order for you to know that you've achieved your goal? Then we're going to notice how you represent that evidence internally. And we're going to adjust the fine tuning of that picture so it's the most compelling picture that it possibly can be. And then we're going to place that goal into your future. So you must have the exact date when your goal is going to be activated in your mind. You must know exactly what that exact date is. And it's probably going to be easier for you to do this with your eyes closed. So why don't you just settle back in your chair, wherever you're sat listening and watching, and just take a nice big deep breath and relax and close your eyes and just listen to my voice now. So when you think of your goal, what is the very last thing that has to happen for you to know that you've achieved it? And when you think of that, do you have a picture? Good. Now, I want you to associate into that picture. So make it so you're looking through your own eyes within that picture. Now, if that picture was more colourful, would it be more compelling? If it would, make it more colourful. If not, leave it where it is. If it was brighter, would it be more compelling? If it would, make it as bright as you like to make it the most compelling picture. If that picture was nearer to you, would it be more compelling? Move it nearer if it would be more compelling, or leave it where it is. Or you could even move it further away. If it was a bigger picture, would it be more compelling? If it would, make it as big as you like to make it the most compelling picture. If that picture was more focused, would it be more compelling? Make it as compelling and as focused as you like. Now, that picture might have a frame around it, or it might be panoramic. Would it be more compelling if you switched it from one to the other? And that picture might be a movie, or it might be still. And if you switched it from one to the other, would it be more compelling? Have a go. And if you change the location of that picture on your mental screen, would it be more compelling? You place that picture where it's most compelling. And there might be sounds that are important. If there are sounds that are important, would it be more compelling if they were louder? And if they would, make them as loud as you like to make it the most compelling picture. Adjust the volume so it suits you. And I know that there are some feelings that are important. Just think of those wonderful feelings. Just feel them for a moment. And I'd just like you to begin to dial up the intensity of that feeling. Imagine a dial going from 0 to 10. And I want you to really turn up the intensity of that wonderful feeling associated with getting your goal. Turn it right up to 10. So it's absolutely the most compelling picture that it could possibly be. Good. Now, I want you to step out of that picture so you can see your body in the picture. Good. Now, I want you to imagine tucking that picture under your arm. And I just want you to imagine floating up above now and floating out into your future, just in your imagination. Imagine with your picture tucked under your arm, floating out into your future. Imagine you're over a line and you can see all the dates on that line. And just count those days away till you get to the time when you've planned to achieve your goal. And when you get there, just stop right there above your goal. Above that date where your goal belongs. And now I want you to take that picture from under your arm and I want you to just let it go. And watch it slowly float down into your timeline, right into that place that was prepared for it. And watch it settle into the timeline. And as you do that, you'll notice that all the events between now and then start to reevaluate themselves in support of your goal. Just watch that happen and notice how exciting it feels. When you've done that and you're ready, then just come back to now and down into the room. So well done. Now you have a goal in your future. So if you go ahead and take action, then you're going to get it because it's there in your future. So every day, take one step towards your goal. Play 100% with certainty and learn what you need to learn in order to get your goal. Now, stay out of your grey zone, your comfort zone. Stay out of it more regularly and stubbornly focus on what you want. And importantly, notice when you're getting what you want, because quite often we're getting what we want and we just let it pass us by. These are the ingredients for a successful mind and how to create success in your life. So, are there any questions that anybody would like to ask right now? You can unmute yourself by clicking on the microphone icon or use the text message box. No questions for today? Okay, so our final gift. So, our gift for this week. On the 28th and the 29th of January 2017, we're running the Secret of Creating Your Success Breakthrough Weekend. And we have 5 opportunities to get a substantial discount on that investment. So standard investment is very good value to start off with. It's only £150. The gift investment is just £100 and we have 5 places. So the first 5 people to contact me after the webinar will get the Secret of Creating Your Success Breakthrough Weekend for just £100. Here's how you contact us. You can call us for a chat on 0845 467 3039 or mobile 07722 007 204. Or you can email me, Christine@qfscoaching.co.uk, and I'll call you back if you send me your number. And you can see all the detail at our website at qfscoaching.com. So that concludes the Successful Minds webinar series. And we'll be back in the new year with a new series. Next time, focusing on language. So I hope you'll join us in the new year. And all that remains for me to do is wish you a very, very happy holidays, happy festive period, happy Christmas. And make 2017 the year that really, really counts for you. And we'd love to help you along that journey. So get in touch and we'll see how Quest for Success Limited can help you to achieve everything that you want to achieve. So thank you very much for joining us throughout this series, and I'll see you in the new year. Thanks. Happy Christmas.